Yeah, good evening all over the world, my beautiful people. Yeah, my name is Princess. This is Yoruba American comedy. It's all about counseling adverts, Yoruba culture, American culture, and broadcasting news. Tonight, what I have for you is all about Uncle Joe, the giant of America, the giant man of America. Yeah, it's our boo boo here, our big papa. Yeah, I want to just brief you about what is going on. But before we start, let us give thanks to Almighty God who made us alive today. Yeah, the heaven and earth, the most powerful Father. We thank you, we glorify your name for what you have done in our life, for what you are yet to do, that continue, never leave us alone. Let your will be done in our life. Amen. Yeah, right now I want to take you. Let's get started. I want to talk to you about what Uncle Joe got done in the White House. You know, we're supposed to do this program tomorrow, but I got a lot of memo pile up, a lot of activities that was going on in the White House. I say, okay, let me just give some out today. Maybe we can do the rest tomorrow. All right? We have a lot of things going on, and they're announcing the about the Uncle Joe Biden Dodge question on cocaine found in the White House. Come on, guys. What do you think? What do you think about that? What do you want Uncle Joe to talk about it? Does he know where the time they put it there? They should check on, I think in my own opinion, they should check on the camera to find out whoever put it there. Yeah, Uncle Joe cannot do that. That's why they have a lot of departments in the White House, you know, a lot of security, a lot of DSS, a lot of whatever they call it, CIS or whatever, BCI or CSS or whatever. All those security people, intelligence, they call a lot of secret security that you cannot even see them with your naked eye. They walking in the air. You cannot see them with your naked eye. They should know the time they put it there. That's not the concern of our Papa Jare. Leave him alone. So that is my opinion. Check your camera, do a lot of investigation, then you'll find out where the cocaine got to the White House. Come on, let's go. Yeah, this one is President Biden delivery remark on the lowering costs for all prices. You know, that is a good thing, my dear, because I could remember when I used to buy a bacon, egg and cheese. It used to be $1.25, but now bacon, egg and cheese like $6. Yeah, if you want to buy everything in there, or lettuce, tomatoes, onions, bacons, eggs, with the bread, it's gonna be like $6 to $7. Please, Uncle, let us bring it down. Bring it down to $1.25. We appreciate you, Uncle Joe. Okay, let's listen to Uncle Joe where he was saying it in the White House, so that it's not going to be, ooh, Princess is lying. Come on, let's go. Let's wait till the Uncle Joe come. Uncle Joe is coming on the way from the inner room. Uncle Joe is coming from the inner room. Yeah. Come on, Uncle Joe, we are waiting for you. Our Uncle Joe is on the way. Why everyone stood up for him? You know, in Africa, when the king is coming, everyone will stand up. Just like that. Thank you for giving him the warm welcome. Yeah, Uncle Joe is here. Are you listening to what Uncle Joe said? Oh, what is that name? Come on, Uncle Joe, let's go. That is Uncle Joe in the White House with a lot of, house, a lot of Congress, a lot of people, a lot of we are the people. Come on, Uncle Joe, talk louder. Remember, I told you Uncle Joe is coming now to talk to us about lowering all the prices. Please, we want to listen to him now. That is what is going on in the White House. Things are too expensive. Come on. Both African store and American store. You know.
else happens to them, they have enough insurance. Will they have to, how are they going to pay the medical? Right? So, you can know one point of personal triggers, we used to say in the Senate, I was telling my staff. But I was raised in a middle class family from New York, Florida. We lived in 2-bedroom houses, 4 kids, and a grandpa, split with a home, and the boys, quote unquote, Princess, my sister, as she should. But 2 boys were 2 sets of bunks in the other room. And there was a closet, right as you walked up the stairs, walked straight down the hall, behind the boys were trees. And on the left was a closet in that whole wall. My parents' bed headboard was against that closet. And every once in a while, you could hear sort of a restlessness going on. And one morning I get up and I asked, what's wrong with Dad? He said that he's got word that he said no longer going to pay for health insurance. Don't know what they're going to do. Or, probably out there and there's so many people who still are in that circumstance. And talk about being deprived of your dignity, not being able to take care of your family if you don't have health insurance. I think one of the most consequential things that can happen to a person. And so, all of you out there, I just want you to know, I get it, we get it. We have your back, and we're never going to stop fighting for it, I promise you. Since I've been in office, we've been carrying out my economic vision.
Uncle Joe.
All right. We carry out my economic vision.
Yeah.
To move from trickle-down economics.
Let's move on to another place. I think you guys see the letterhead and says President Biden delivers remark on the lowering cost for prices. So let's move on to another thing is on the board. Yeah, we talk about the. Okay, let's move to the.
One more, former President Trump has made some pretty wild posts recently on social media.
Hey, you know what? I don't want to go into the opponent that they say about the cocaine, that is in between the headers. I'm little girl, I'm on the Democrats. This one say Biden calls for gun control after July 4 shooting. Oh my God, why did they do that? Anyway, Uncle Joe, please continue. Don't give up. Continue to protect us. May God will protect all of us. In Jesus' name. Amen. Let's move on to our last campaign was powered by donation from grassroots supporters. Hey, that is where I'm going to because I want to support my uncle. Yeah. Five reasons.
To donate $5 to my campaign.
Oh.
Some help from a friend. Hey, Barack. Hey, Joe. Number 1, our last campaign was powered by donations from grassroots supporters like you.
Number 2, your donations are the reason President Biden won the last election.
Yeah.
And when he won, he built on our progress with the ACA.
He did.
He passed the biggest climate bill in world history.
Yeah.
And he brought our economy back from crisis.
Yeah.
It's because of you.
Number 3, we've got a lot more progress to make.
So let's listen to the two lovely friends.
The fake news media has...
Come on, let's go this way, please. Where is it? Right here. Let's start from beginning.
This is why I'm asking you to donate $5 to my campaign. Some help from a friend. Hey, Barack.
We have to do it, Uncle.
Number 1, the last campaign was powered by donations from grassroots supporters like you.
Number 2, your donations are the reason President Biden won the last election. And when he won, he built our progress with the ACA.
Yeah.
He passed the biggest climate bill in world history. And he brought our economy back from crisis.
He did, you.
Number 3, we've got a lot more progress to make. Protecting voting rights, protecting Social Security and Medicare.
Hey.
Fighting for fundamental freedom to love, to make your own healthcare choices, and to read certain books to your kids.
Yeah.
We can't do it without you.
Yeah, you're right.
Joe might even call you.
Ah.
Not a joke.
Oh, please, Uncle Joe, come here. My number is a number 1, oh, Olorire. Oh my God.
And go to joebiden.com to join our campaign.
Oh, good. Good. I want you to come here, Uncle Joe. Make sure you come here, Uncle Joe. Yeah, I'm running for re-election. Yeah, let's listen to that. Uncle Joe is getting in again. He's getting in again. Yeah.
Freedom. Personal freedom is fundamental to who we are as Americans. There's nothing more important, nothing more sacred. That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy. This shouldn't be a revolution. To protect our rights, to make sure that everyone in this country is treated equally and that everyone is given a fair shot at making it. But you know, around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms, cutting Social Security that you paid for your entire life while cutting taxes for the very wealthy, dictating what healthcare decisions women can make, banning books, and telling people who they can love, all while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote.
Yeah, you know what you call that later. I'm sure Uncle Joe might be me. I'm sure Uncle Joe will come in.
Battle for the soul of America, and we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom, more rights or fewer. I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too. This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election.
Good. Can you hear that? So guys, let's join hands together.
I know we're good and decent people.
To support our President of America, Joe Biden.
Where we give hate no safe harbor. We believe that everyone is equal.
Yes.
Everyone should be given a fair shot to succeed in this country.
We got you, Uncle.
Every generation of Americans will face the moment when they have to defend democracy. Stand up for our personal freedom. Stand up for the right to vote and our civil rights. And this is our moment. So if you're with me, go to joebiden.com and sign up. Let's finish this job. I know we can. Because this is the United States of America. There's nothing, simply nothing we cannot do if we do it together.
As the nation reckons with the assault on democracy,
One of the darkest days in the history of our nation.
Frontline tells the story of America's next president.
This man who's wanted to be president for half a century and failed and now finds himself at this moment of really abject national crisis. That's when the country sees him for the first time.
It will test every bit of what Joe Biden has learned over nearly 50 years in public office. Now on Frontline, President Biden.
As today, I announce my candidacy for President of the United States of America.
Friends, today I file
file the necessary papers to become candidate for President of the United States.
Today I'm announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
When people get in the habit of running for president, and in the habit of wanting the presidency, and in the habit when they reflect on their lives of thinking they could win and they could be a good president, that's a hard habit to break. Dreams die hard.
In the 2020 election,
So let's move on to this is they're giving us the about Uncle Joe in the presidency.
He was 30 years ago, like most people wouldn't be. And he also
what he got done since, what he says about presidency. Before he got to the White House, his efforts.
at the first primary debate, that long, complicated record was a liability.
I'm going to now direct this at Vice President Biden.
The debates before the White House.
And, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
It wasn't about the specifics of the busing. It was a signal. It was saying that this is a white guy who is so old that he was taking a position on busing in the first place.
But Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America?
Precisely because he has such a long track record in American politics, you can point to him being on the wrong side of questions that are now considered to be completely settled.
In the weeks that followed, things didn't get better.
So let's listen. We're going to do this twice. I told you that we still have more time to do the rest tomorrow. I want you to listen to this.
He struggled to excite voters.
President Joe Biden struggling in the polls here. Well, Joe Biden, is his campaign in trouble?
He did not look like an effective candidate. He lacked energy often. He wasn't as crisp as a lot of people had hoped he would be. His campaign was in crisis.
Joe Biden, president, trailing in fourth place. Surprised how bad Joe Biden did. He fled the state. One of his senior advisors had to call him and have what she described to me as the conversation you never want to have with a candidate, which is, we may be approaching the point of having to shut this thing down.
Joe Biden is fighting for his political survival.
It was a moment of peril.
In a great time, in particular for Joe Biden.
But Joe Biden had been here before.
Fighting to survive after a
And this is a person who had suffered significant setbacks, both personally and politically. And out of that, I think he had come to a sense of what his strengths and weaknesses really were.
We're talking about a half century in public life, during which he experienced multiple times the setbacks, any one of which would have and has driven out candidates to leave public life. So the improbability of where he finds himself is unprecedented in American presidential history.
His life had prepared him for this moment. Shaped by challenges,
Stuttering is a severe problem.
tragedy,
An automobile accident killed the wife and baby daughter of Biden of Delaware.
crisis,
Late draws a law review article.
perseverance.
Tonight, his campaign is doing damage control.
The Biden legacy.
Remember, guys, that we need to support Uncle Joe during this election. I want you to remember that he paid for your cell phone, he paid for your internet, and he paid for your children in his school. You too, if you go back to school, he's ready to pay for you. That is why we need to pay back to support him, for him to go back to the White House. Then things can be work much better than this for all of us. Thank you, guys. Please listen to the end of this video.
Among the many causes of retarded speech
Uncle Joe did a lot of things. A lot of things. Remember your medication. You don't pay much on the medication anymore. Remember your seeing the doctor in the doctor's office. Everything is less. No more copay when you got your medication. Remember, you ever on the Social Security, you got it right. Nobody delay you. Nobody lower everything down for you. You got the accurate that you're supposed to get. That's what you're going to think about it. Help Uncle Joe, this is the time. You need to pay back, guys.
When the common prescription was buck up, deal with it.
Dealing with it. A rough and tumble childhood in Delaware. His father, a car salesman, fallen on hard times. For little Joey, Catholic school. Nuns.
He had an assignment he had to memorize. He had to stand up and deliver it in the classroom.
The words were in front of him. Sir Walter Raleigh was a gentleman.
When Joe read it, it went, Sir Walter Raleigh was a gentleman. Say that again? Sir Walter Raleigh was a gentleman. This went on 3 times.
He said gentleman instead of gentleman. And the nun said, Mr. Biden, what's that word? And this is a person in a position of authority. This is a person who's meant to protect you.
It was so embarrassing and so enraging that Biden walked out of the room. He walked out of the school. He walked all the way home.
Joey's mom, Jean, marched him back to the school to confront his teacher.
The sister starts telling him how disrespectful Joe is, and my mother stopped. She said, just tell me, did you make fun of my son? Well, sister, did you make fun of my son? Well, and my mother said, well, I'll answer it for you. You sure and hell did. And if you ever do that again, I'm going to come back and I'm going to knock your bonnet right off your head. Do we understand each other?
Bullied, harassed, ridiculed, he was hell-bent on beating the stutterer.
Biden would stand in front of his bedroom mirror, holding a flashlight to his face, and he would recite Gates and Emerson.
He kept pushing against the stutterer, the bullies, and it paid off.
People liked to be around him. He really had a presence. You knew him when he walked in. He was a little taller than most and in very good shape. He was a star football player on their team.
Joey Biden found another way to fight back. Politics.
In high school, he's president of his senior class. Honestly, that's when he gets a taste for it. The stutter is still part of him during his senior year in high school, where he has to introduce his family at graduation, and he has to stand up there and not stutter and say this publicly, and he does it.
In the crisis of stuttering, a life method. Persevere. Just push through.
Or medical research to conquer devastating diseases like cancer. Not the end in themselves. UAW took incredible cuts in their future.
Many people would say Biden's stutter is among his most visible weaknesses, if not number one. But it's also a source of his strength. It's also main source of his grit and his determination to just be there, competing.
As he began his political career, Joe Biden had a role model. Irish, Catholic, good-looking. Joe emulated what he could. Kennedy was drawn to politics. Biden was drawn to politics. Jack had a photogenic wife and children. Joe had a photogenic wife and children. The Kennedys had a family compound in Hyannisport. The Bidens would have a family compound in Wilmington, Delaware.
Joe Biden was always fascinated by the Kennedy mystique. He really saw himself as a natural heir to that tradition.
I'm Joe Biden, and I'm a candidate for the United States Senate. Politicians have done such a job with the people that the people don't believe them anymore. And I'd like a shot at changing that.
But Wilmington was no Hyannisport.
We, the Bidens, we had no money, we had no power or influence. We didn't know anybody who was a big name who could help us.
Like the crisis over his stutter, his political start was a struggle. Behind in the polls, facing a powerful opponent, United States Senator Cale Boggs, an ally of President Richard Nixon.
Joe Biden asked me about getting involved in his campaign. I started off by telling him that there's no way you can win.
Audacious is a good term to apply to Biden back then. This is a guy who wasn't yet old enough to hold the seat.
It was a time of crisis in the country. The Vietnam War had divided Americans.
Opposition to the war in Vietnam to set off demonstrations in several major cities,
igniting social unrest. In Delaware, racial tensions boiled over.
The National Guard was called out in several cities to put down riots. One of these cities was Wilmington, Delaware.
Black residents were angry. Joe Biden saw an opportunity to draw on his personal experience with race. Back when he was 19, working at an inner city pool.
he was a lifeguard. He was one of the two white guys. He was a tall, slim, young-looking, good-looking, Elvis Presley-looking kind of guy.
That's how he got to know some of the guys who were in the gangs. He just seemed to have a natural instinct for getting to know people, getting to understand them, but not being afraid to be around them.
We became friends. I was a very troubled child. Okay? Leave every gang, no food at home, left the cut off, no soap, sometimes no soap and water to take a bath, no hot water.
Joe and Ricky, he likes to be called Mouse, forged a lifetime friendship. Mouse introduced Joe all around the neighborhood. Over the years, Biden kept in touch, building relationships in the black community that would pay off.
Some people are in politics because they're in love with policy, but they're not necessarily in love with humans. He loves the game of it. He loves the dance of it. He loves meeting people. He loves hugging strangers.
It became his go-to strategy.
That's Uncle Joe right there.
Nixon's landslide didn't help the
That was him.
In 1972, that method worked.
those who didn't lose have been considered the most certain to win.
The black community helped make Joe Biden a winner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did.
Less than 3,000
We
votes.
did. Because we believe in him.
It was very pleasant. People were still surprised at, how this even happened.
Black people make Joe Biden win.
There was no way in the world it could be done. That night, all the college kids were so excited. A lot of us went to the Hotel DuPont ballroom, and it was packed. And there was so much excitement in the air. I saw this woman coming through the crowd, and I realized that it was Nelia, Joe's wife. And so I walked up to her, and I shook her hand, and I said, congratulations on your win. And she said, thank you very much. And that was our exchange.
Biden and his sister Val were in Washington setting up the office, hiring a staff, when the crisis hit.
The phone rings and Val gets it, and Biden is sort of paying attention, and then he really starts paying attention when he sees her face.
I got a call from Jimmy Biden and said, come home now. There's been an accident, and Nelia was in the car, the station wagon, with the 3 children, Bo Hunt and Naomi.
Nelia was literally bringing home the Christmas tree with the kids in the car, the 3 kids in the car.
Campaign flyers from the car helped identify the bodies.
She was hit broadside by a tractor trailer. And she and Naomi, who sat behind her in the car seat, they died instantly. And Bo and Hunter were seriously injured.
And he knew from the look on her face.
My brother looked at me and said, she's dead, isn't she? And I said, I don't know, Joey. I did know. Jimmy told me.
He got to the boys. They were all that was left. Broken hips, legs, arms. Bo was all cut up and Hunter's skull was fractured.
Since the accident, Biden himself been living at a hospital in Wilmington, Delaware, taking care of his sons. Today, the senator took his swearing-in ceremony. Joseph Biden, Democrat of Delaware.
Somehow, Biden pulled it together. They held a swearing-in ceremony at the hospital.
It means a lot to me. I appreciate it, and I hope that I can be a good senator for you all. I make this one promise that if in 6 months or so there's a conflict between my being a good father and being a good senator, which I hope will not occur. I thought to it, but I hope it won't. I promise you that I will contact Governor Lex Tribbett as I had earlier and tell him that we can always get another senator, but they can't get another father.
The road ahead for Joe
That's
Biden
right.
was tough. Like the fight against stuttering and the uphill political battle. Once again, in crisis, he would persevere.
Valerie's going to help raise the children. He's going to have a job in Washington and a home in Wilmington, and he's going to ride that train back and forth. He's going to be home for dinner every night with his kids and his sister, and that's going to be the family unit. It's not the one he chose, but that's going to be the one.
You don't lose your wife and child at the point in life that he did and not grow from it. You learn from those kinds of experiences. What you do, though, is like Muhammad Ali said one time, I've never been knocked out. I've always been getting up. George has never been knocked out. He's always been getting up.
Senator Biden, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I truly appreciate the opportunity to sit in on this hearing.
From his earliest days in the Senate, Joe Biden was determined to make a name for himself.
You can't convince me that the guy you're thinking back to isn't saying to you or one of your agents at some point, hey, look, I'm getting $100,000 from you, but Harry over there, he's getting $175,000 from whomever else. I mean, you guys didn't know that was going on?
He was seen as a bit of a show horse at first. He was not someone who was waiting his turn. In fact, he was fighting as hard for attention and notoriety and the ability to stay as a U.S. Senator as anyone was.
His ambitions were never even thinly disguised. He talked about it not long after he came to the Senate and made clear that being in the Senate itself was not the only thing he might want to do in life.
What he wanted to do was to become president. By 1987, he thought he was ready. It was a family affair. The boys were older. He had been married, had a new daughter.
You know, he said, let's just test
You
the
have to be
waters.
senator
And so I
to
said,
be
all
president.
right. I mean, it sort of just snowballed, and we were into it really before we even knew it.
Well, that's Miss Jill.
But as he campaigned,
Jill Biden.
another crisis stemming from a persistent question. What did he stand for?
I think that's always been one of his challenges as he tries to go for president. He casts about for what he wants to say. He casts about for the issues he wants to put forward and what he wants to say he believes in. And it feels cast about.
Then one day, a video of a British politician and a story that would give him something to say.
Why am I the first king in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
Obsessed with the tape, Biden studied it. He later wrote, "The ad was riveting. I couldn't take my eyes off Neil Kennedy."
Because they were weak. Those people who could work 8 hours underground and then come up and play football. Weak.
Biden could put himself into the Neil Kinnock story. Family in Scranton, Pennsylvania, family in the mines. And so, in a sense, he absorbed the Kinnock story and making it his own.
The campaign begins in earnest with the first votes for the next president in Iowa.
Spent much of yesterday stand out.
In Iowa, during the primary, he took Kinnock's words, made them his own.
Now, Mr. Biden. Thank you very much. I started thinking as I was coming over here, why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university?
He got up there, he gave his speech, and he got to the end, the last 3 minutes, and he gave Kinnock, but he did not attribute it to Kinnock.
Is it because they didn't work hard? My ancestors who worked in the coal mines in northeast Pennsylvania didn't come up after 12 hours and play football for 4 hours?
Joe Biden borrowed it and applied it to his own life and made a moving sort of aria, a moving sort of part of a speech about his own life, which in fact had been taken from Neil Kinnock.
Biden seems to be claiming Kinnock's vision to end life as his own.
It became front-page news.
Biden has been caught with a sudden, embarrassing comparison of his recent campaign speeches. The first example came from Great Britain.
Why am I the first king in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
And I started thinking as I was coming over here, why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university?
His campaign said it was a mistake, that he had cited Kinnock other times.
For a second time in 2 weeks.
But then the avalanche.
He looks like a Joe Biden wind-up doll with somebody else's words coming out.
Allegations of failing to cite a source in a law school paper.
Plagiarized a law review article.
Taking lines from his political idols, the Kennedys.
One from John Kennedy's inaugural, others from Robert Kennedy. Their words from the lips of Joe Biden.
Joe Biden comes off as someone who has a lot of self-confidence. But obviously, there's an imposter syndrome dynamic at work here, because if you feel like you have to make up stuff about yourself and invent stories that are not your own, and then do it in such a self-destructive way in which you can be caught, that speaks to a level of character and certainly insecurity.
Hello, everybody.
That is common among a lot of politicians.
Delightful to see you all here. You know my wife, Jill?
Pulling out of the 1987 presidential race was really devastating to
That's Mrs.
Joe and to
Biden.
me and to our family.
Thanks, folks. My wife and I thank you very much. And
Biden lost this fight.
Senator Joseph Biden dropped out of the hunt.
Joe Biden blames mostly himself for blowing it.
But he believed he'd have another chance. He returned to the Senate to rebuild.
It wasn't as though, having lost in 1988, he faded away or disappeared. He has positions in the Senate that give him power and clout, and in a sense, a national platform from which to continue to kind of project himself as a leader of the Democratic Party.
Committee Chairman Joseph Biden opened confirmation hearings for the nation's 106th nominee.
He concentrated on his job as the chairman of the powerful Senate Judiciary Committee.
President Bush says the American people are supporting his choice for the Supreme Court.
It was there he would face his biggest challenge yet, a controversy over the nomination of Clarence Thomas to the Supreme Court.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the potential for political explosion on Capitol Hill.
Clarence Thomas ran into trouble today.
Questions are growing over charges of sexual harassment.
This affidavit charged that Thomas sexually harassed a former employee, Anita Hill.
It seems to have been a nightmare for Joe Biden. As a man, he felt uncomfortable about it. As a white man, he felt uncomfortable taking Clarence Thomas, a black man, on about it. And the whole subject matter just made him incredibly uncomfortable.
But Committee Chairman Biden conceded tonight that new information about the allegations strong and history.
With the crisis growing, Anita Hill was called to testify.
The hearing will come to order. Anita Hill comes to Washington to tell the Senate her side.
Welcome, Professor Hill. Professor, do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth to help you God? Thank you.
Biden's committee was all white men, the men of the Senate, as they were called.
There was not a single woman who might have understood her story from a woman's point of view.
Can you tell the committee what was the most embarrassing of all the incidences that you have alleged?
I think the one that was the most embarrassing was this discussion of pornography involving women with large breasts and engaged in variety of sex with different people or animals. That was the thing that embarrassed me the most and made me feel the most humiliated.
Here in Illinois, women were just mesmerized by the hearings, outraged at what had happened. They looked up and saw a very non-diverse United States Senate Judiciary Committee. There was not a woman there, not to mention person of color. It was just all these like cookie cutters, and folks were really horrified by it.
Let me now yield to my friend from Pennsylvania, Senator Specter.
Biden's close friend, Republican Arlen Specter, led the charge against Hill.
I find the references to the alleged sexual harassment not only unbelievable, but preposterous.
He cast doubt on her memory.
How reliable is your testimony in October of 1991 on events that occurred 8-10 years ago?
He suggested she was exaggerating.
You took it to mean that Judge Thomas wanted to have sex with you, but in fact, he never did ask you to have sex, correct?
No, he did not ask me to have sex.
That was an inference.
Yes.
You drew.
Yes.
Thank you, Professor Hill.
There were these really searing images of this all-white panel, Joe Biden right in the middle of it, grilling Anita Hill, sometimes in quite hostile fashion. And Joe Biden was seen as a real sort of ringleader to that.
Biden gave Clarence Thomas the last word. He strongly denied the allegations.
This is a circus. It's a national disgrace. And from my standpoint, as a black American, as far as I'm concerned, it is a high-tech lynching for uppity blacks by a committee of the U.S. Senate rather than hung from a tree.
Very powerful. I mean, what it did was it shamed these white senators, and it certainly seemed to shame the Democrats, who had just been accused of lynching a black man.
Biden would end up voting against Thomas, but his handling of the hearing damaged him politically.
It made him the face of an out-of-touch body and really wounded his prospects of a future run for president.
It touched him.
He had some work to do. He had some reputational rehab to do.
Biden turned to his method for survival in crisis. Acknowledge the problem and repair the damage.
Joe is always able to say, yeah, I didn't handle that quite right. Let me see what I can do better the next time.
Carol Mosley Braun has entered political history. She's the first African-American woman elected to the U.S. Senate. Big changes here at a time that have history written all over.
Fixing things began by recruiting the first black woman elected to the United States Senate. Biden wanted to make sure Mosley Braun joined his committee.
I made a joke, which he didn't think was funny at all. I said, you just want Anita Hill on the other side of the table. He did not laugh. He didn't think it was funny. And he still probably doesn't.
He would end up convincing her and Dianne Feinstein to join the committee. Joe Biden was rebuilding with an eye on the ultimate prize, the presidency.
Half a dozen times in his career, he faces moments like this where a normal person looks in the mirror and says, this is never going to happen for me. Either because my time has passed, or because I've humiliated myself, or because I've been on the wrong side of an issue, and he just keeps coming back.
Another day, another entry in the presidential race. Delaware Senator Joe Biden is the 9th Democrat to jump in.
It was 2007. Joe Biden was running for president again. But that very day,
It sure isn't easy running for president these days.
it all blew up.
This was not a good day for Joe Biden, was it?
No, it really wasn't, Katie.
Just got into the race today, and no sooner than he did, he talked his way into a national controversy.
Spent much of the day discussing these comments he made to a newspaper reporter about Senator Barack Obama.
You got the first sort of mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean and nice looking guy. I mean, that's a story for me.
Some people listening to those descriptions of Obama, articulate, clean, heard racial overtones, or at the very least, condescension.
I think when people heard the clean and articulate line, there was a wave of eye rolling, certainly among African Americans. It was a kind of well-intentioned but benighted commentary that you expect from people who inhabit environments where there aren't very many black people. And the United States Senate has historically been a prime example of it.
Tonight, his campaign is doing damage control.
Joe Biden's apologizing for a remark he made about Senator Barack Obama.
In the months that followed,
Joe Biden dropped out of the race last night after finishing poorly.
once again, Joe Biden's campaign would collapse.
The latest news is that Joe Biden is dropping out of the race.
But he wasn't taking himself out of the game. He'd make it personal. Build a relationship with Obama.
Out of competition came mutual respect, and mutual respect led to a real relationship of friendship. And Joe Biden became somebody that President Obama looked to for advice and counsel.
You are not going to get anything out of me on the vice president.
Soon, that relationship would pay off as Obama saw her running.
I gotta say that I paid for this election, and that's all you're gonna get.
When Barack ran, he needed the support of someone who knew his way around government, and that was Joe Biden.
Obama asked him to be on his ticket as vice president. At the house in Wilmington, the Biden inner circle gathered.
He was not going to do it. I mean, there's no doubt he's not going to do it. We had another one was family meetings and a few key people.
The kid said to me, Mom, you have to talk Dad into running. And I said, Joe, this is such a great moment in history.
His mom said, well, Joe, she called him Joe. She said, well, Joe, you're telling me that the first African-American president in history thinks that you can help him get elected, and you're saying no. Gaines said that. It was over.
Barack Obama is projected to be the next president.
He turned the political crisis into a relationship and became vice president.
47 years old, who becomes the president
he had already squared away in his mind that he understood that Barack Obama was president, Joe was vice president, and Joe understood the job of vice president and wore it well.
In the Obama White House, Biden brought with him something the president didn't have: relationships in Congress spanning decades.
Those were his recently former colleagues, and he knew that he could call them and they would take his call, and that he could go and thrash issues out with them with a degree of comfort that President Obama didn't have because he hadn't known them as long as Vice President Biden.
Biden became Obama's trusted partner.
The real question isn't what thing did you do if you're vice president. The real question is how much influence did you have? And I think Biden understands power and leveraging power. I think he had a genuine relationship with Obama. They spent a lot of time talking. But I think he was a very influential vice president in that way, and an extremely loyal vice president.
In return, Obama bestowed on Biden something special, a kind of political sainthood they called the Obama halo.
Joe Biden has the Obama halo. Everybody knows that. That is the cleansing of Joe Biden and everything that may have happened. And it's such a great irony that someone who was the architect of the 94 crime bill, a white man of this age, when you think about Anita Hill, his crutch is the reason for his success. He's a black man with a funny name who's kind of skinny from Hawaii by way of Kansas.
In those years as vice president, Biden would confront yet more crises. Among them, the building racial tensions, the growing outrage over police violence against African Americans. Then, news of a revenge shooting against the police.
We begin tonight with breaking news: a deadly police shooting in New York City.
2 New York City police officers are dead following an ambush Saturday afternoon.
They were quite simply assassinated.
Amateur video captured the frantic scene as paramedics desperately tried to save the lives of officers Widget Liu and Rafael Ramos.
When it came to matters of race, Obama relied on Biden to walk a fine line he could not.
One of Joe Biden's chief responsibilities was to be an ambassador to the country, specifically to the white parts of the country, where Barack Obama's presence might have only further inflamed the situation.
Now Biden was dispatched to New York.
25,000 police officers are all there.
It was tense.
A sea of blue filled the city streets.
He used his method. Keep it personal. Talk directly to the family of Officer Rafael Ramos.
Our hearts ache for you. I know from personal experience that there is little anyone can say or do at this moment to ease the pain, that sense of loss, that sense of loneliness.
Joe Biden has been defined in public life by heartbreak and empathy. That when Joe Biden steps up at funeral, you know that those tears are real.
The time will come. The time will come when Raphael's memory will bring a smile to your lips before it brings a tear to your eyes. That's when you know it's going to be okay. And it's hard to believe it'll happen, but I promise you it will happen.
It's an odd role in public life to be known as a person associated with grief. And Joe Biden never wanted to be that person, actually. It was not how he imagined his own political future. But because of his life, he ended up being this public political symbol of suffering and of resilience. And eventually he embraced it. But he actually didn't want to be that.
That day, there was unfinished business. Biden wanted to see Officer Wenjian Lu's family.
We came out of the church, and Joe said, I want to offer my condolences to him as well, to them, to that family.
He wanted to go and meet them and talk with them. So the police worked it out so that we could visit, and they had a translator there.
I can remember walking up the stairs with an interpreter, and the family was all crammed into this tiny kitchen, and we sat and we talked to them, and we must have been in there, I don't know, a good hour.
I started to notice that Wenjian Lu's father had rarely left my side. Occasionally, he would lean into me so that his shoulder touched my arm. Thank you, he kept saying. Thank you, thank you.
We went out on the sidewalk, and the father, who didn't even speak English, and just held on to Joe. And I mean, he was so grateful that Joe had come to offer condolences to the family.
We stood there for a long while, embracing on a little sidewalk in front of the house where he had lived with his only son. Just two fathers. I understood all that he wanted me to know.
After decades in politics, Biden seemed to have finally found his place.
He's a humanity man.
But soon after the crisis in New York, yet again, a personal crisis.
He loves everyone the way he loves himself.
He was burying his own son, Bo.
He was the apple of Biden's eye. He was not just someone who he thought was brilliant and successful and so proud of him. It went beyond pride. It was almost like he's the perfect version of me.
Bo had served in Iraq. He was Attorney General of Delaware. They talked about the presidency someday.
Joe often describes him as Joe 2.0, and he looked like his dad. He had a lot of the same skill sets as his father. He was very charismatic. He was charming. He was funny.
But then, brain cancer.
Oh.
Death at 46.
Bo Biden, former Delaware Attorney General and eldest son of Vice President Joe Biden, died.
President Biden's office was the first to announce his son's death.
The president was with his son Bo when he passed away tonight at Walter.
Very sad news, and Bo Biden lost his battle with brain cancer.
Family and friends gathered at St. Anthony's Church in Wilmington yesterday to pay their respects. Some waited in line for up to 6 hours. Lines 5 blocks long outside.
At one point, after several hours, a surprise.
There was Mr. Liu and his wife, and they came to give us comfort.
That was his sad
It
news
was just
for
two
his son.
men, really, who had gone through something horrible, just offering comfort to one another.
Before Bo's death, Biden had been considering another run for president. Now the question was not just would he, but could he?
That was happened to be in Obama's White House, and he walked in. And I honestly, it was almost like I didn't recognize him. This was shortly after Bo died. He just looked like he had aged years and years in such a short amount of time.
Through crisis and tragedy, Joe Biden had his eyes on the presidency. But now, in grief, he would decide to stand down.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
For the first time in decades, Joe Biden was a private citizen, watching Donald Trump's polarizing presidency.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Then came Charlottesville. That was really the tipping point. When he heard President Trump say there are some very fine people on both sides, that was it. That was the tipping point.
Biden watched, increasingly alarmed. Violent clashes between white supremacists and counter-protesters.
It's hard to believe, based on his own statements, that Joe Biden doesn't see some level of personal responsibility for the rise of Donald Trump. Joe Biden was the vice president, and he chose not to run for president. You have to imagine that's weighed pretty heavily on Joe Biden.
He decided to do something about it. At 76 years old, he would run one more time.
Today I'm announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
Through the Democratic primaries, he was not, at the top of his game. He kind of staggered along. He didn't do terribly well when the voting started.
Joe Biden appearing to shrug off an American fourth place finish.
Fourth in Iowa.
Biden may not have enough cash even to make it through Super Tuesday.
Fifth in New Hampshire.
After 3 straight losses, Joe Biden is now...
But he stuck with his playbook.
...damaged his fundraising abilities.
Stay in the center. Make personal connections. Reach out to black voters.
As he ages, he's a better candidate every time. He does not waver. He does not appear to be a guy who goes with the wind, even when he appears to be losing and at a step with his own party.
Joe Biden desperately needs South Carolina if he has any chance to make
His last hope.
a great time, in particular for Joe Biden.
South Carolina.
All rest of South Carolina.
Joe Biden has spent a lot of time in South Carolina. He can relate to South Carolina. South Carolina was very, very important to Joe Biden.
News is projecting former Vice President Joe Biden is the winner.
And the state's black voters gave him a victory.
Was reinvigorated largely by black voters in the state.
Joe Biden wins big.
3 days later,
A local earthquake. These are the results nobody saw coming.
he rode the momentum and dominated Super Tuesday.
Pulled off one of the biggest political upsets in modern political history.
Soon, he won the nomination.
In its own way, it's the culmination of all of his training and ambition and his mistakes and his regrets and his attempts to be better. And it came together at last.
Biden has made his pick.
And when the time came,
A school decision from former Vice President Joe
he
Biden.
turned to the opponent who'd gone after him on the campaign trail, Kamala Harris,
Harris as his running mate.
and picked her as his running mate.
The American community will help propel him to the White House.
It was an opportunity for him to distinguish himself from Donald Trump. But I actually want to bring the person who's criticized me most harshly into the fold because I value dissenting opinions. And that was part of the message that was being sent with Kamala Harris.
The coronavirus crisis in this country is taking a dangerous turn.
The true cost of COVID is measured not by numbers, but families.
He ran for president in the midst of a profound national crisis.
COVID-19 is now the third leading cause of death in the U.S.
Unemployment now soaring to 14.7%.
Millions of Americans on the brink of financial ruin.
The moment plays to his strengths in ways that the other moments he ran probably did not.
It has been double the trauma. First the global pandemic and now the traumatic death of George Floyd.
A new wave of grief in the form of police brutality.
We're living in a country that's experienced in 2020 a ton of loss.
Disappointment, emptiness, hopelessness, and so much fear.
Yeah,
And here
Black
you
Lives
have it,
Matter.
because life has been defined in a lot of ways by loss.
Joe Biden told voters he understood and promised he would be there for them.
You folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding the phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye. You would have lost far more people. Far more people. And you would have been, and by the way,
It's sort of a political story you could not have imagined. This man who's wanted to be president for half a century and failed to do it over and over, and now finds himself at this moment of really abject national crisis. And that's the moment when the country sees him for the first time, really.
We've reached a historic moment in this election. Joseph R. Biden Jr. is elected the 46th President of the United States.
That was Uncle Joe.
Victory.
And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will receive the most votes of any presidential ticket ever.
The people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory, a victory for we the people.
Yeah, we the people.
Joe Biden faces his biggest challenge yet.
I don't think any president, certainly in my lifetime, has faced the problems that Joe Biden will face as the new president. The pandemic, a weakened economy, the racial issues that are on the table. To do it when the country is as divided as it is will test every bit of what Joe Biden has learned over nearly 50 years in public office.
Can you hear that? He's a very hard-working man. Yeah? Guys, I think that's what we need to hear about Uncle Joe time in the 50 years as a government worker in United States of America. So right now, guys, this is where we're going to end for today. Then we're going to continue it tomorrow about what we got done, what Uncle Joe got done in the White House. And what I'm going to tell you that, please, guys, we need to join hands and support this, our President Joe Biden, the President of America, for another 4 years in the White House. I think you guys will remember what he has got done over there, a lot of things. I will say it again. The copay reduced on your medication. Hospital bill is free. Your cell phone is free. He pay all the bills every month. And you got free internet in your house. You can watch any CNN anytime, any channel anytime. All those came from Uncle Joe Biden, the President of America. So that is why I'm telling you now that we should work hard and support him again so that he can have more for us in the White House. If you believe that, the only thing I want you to do, just support him. Then, this is the time you need to pay him back for what he has done for you. For that few years, he has been in the White House, but for him to go for another 4 years, he needs your support. He needs my support. He needs everyone's support. Please, everyone, let's go to the White House and join Uncle Joe. So guys, I want to say thank you for your listening. Thank you for your subscriber. Thank you for your viewer. Thank you for your comments. I can't wait to say thank you to you when you pay some money to support our Uncle Joe in the White House. Yes. Until when I get another information, I say bye for now. I love you guys. God bless America.